Yeah. You know how we seek that higher knowledge? Only the ignorant can't relate. We just kill them with love instead of hate. That's what it's about.
We are Moors.
Shout out to the Grand Sheikh, Cujo L, Iron Sheikh. Yeah.
We are Moors. Heard what I said? Circle 7 snapback, not just affairs. We are Moors. You heard what I said? Blue, white, green fairs, not just red. We are Moors. Heard what I said? Keep talking reckless and muftis for your head. We are Moors. You heard what I said? Your slave name crest might have a Moor head. We are Moors.
20 Moors rockin', you could call them Moroccans. Great COS adepts, let's get it poppin'. Got a problem with my sheep, got a problem with me. I be on the front line rollin', 23 deep. I be studying for hours, 7 days a week, working on my higher self, cause the devil don't sleep. Big ups to Cujo L, that's the Iron Sheik. 7's up, facing the east, praising Allah. Astrology, cosmology, that's the real law. I slow roast ya, master the flame like Zoe Roaster. The rise of the new Moors, old heads move over. That Kundalini energy rising up like a cobra. This is training day, mount up with real soldiers. Elevate beyond the hate and claim your lost estate. The only reason you hate is you too blind to relate. The only reason you hate is you too blind to relate.
We are Moors. Heard what I said? Circle 7 snapback, not just affairs. We are Moors. You heard what I said?
I don't rock a hat, just a turban, no affairs. We are Moors.
Heard what I said? Keep talking reckless and muftis for your head. We are Moors. You heard what I said? Your slave name crest might have a Moor head. Stop talking crazy. You can't be everything but Moors. That's like willing to stay minority and not mature. Therefore, Taj Tariq Bey taught the world don't respect you. However, since you wanna be it, you go down when they fall. They, the ones you call government, that's really a corpse. Black man means funeral director. Should make sense, of course. Music is the food and the message, the medicine. Mumble food is poison. I'm with the golden era veterans like Mob Deep, condolences, QB, RIP Prodigy, who studied the history of the Moors and etymology. You missed the Corsica headband disguised as a bandana. Moorish MC, the real Moroccan, not a French Montana. Kendrick Lamar, you Sarahite, trust me, Hebrew's a language. Lupe put Moors in his video, made the point vantage. Yassine Bey knows Sabir Bey knows Moorish Master MC. Fruquan Bey and Daddy IU are on some Moorish degrees. Spraga and Bojuno, they even killed Peter cause of Macintosh. Still visit Digable planets, hip-hop astronauts. Milky Way flow, rays of tassels, blind unbelievers. To higher than other senses, to still pick up the frequency. Pick your addiction, truth will still make itself known. To go platinum now, you gotta give up more plus your soul. Large Professor built pyramids, I watch Drink Champ steady. Cause Nori said Drew Ali on a track, so call me petty. Also Martin Moore exec produced the War Report album. Aboriginal Super Cat taught me how to hang and scalp them. Operation Lockdown video feathers like I said a Duke. Initiate invasions, activate at doors every spook. We are Moors. Heard what I said? Circle 7 snapback, not just affairs. We are Moors. You heard what I said? Blue, white, green fairs, not just red. We are Moors. Heard what I said? Keep talking reckless and muftis for your head. We are Moors. You heard what I said? Your slave name crest might have a Moor head.
We are Moors.
We are Moors. Heard what I said? We are Moors. Heard what I said? Heard what I said? Heard what We are Moors. We are Moors.
There was a couple calls from Moors that are taking the orders and at least going to check the temples or whatever. These more, they're at least going to visit the temples, and they're making sure that they're at least going to the place called Moorish Science Temple of America. The problem that they're having is that they go to this place and what they experience isn't in line with where it is they know they're supposed to be, based on their studying that they're doing, right? So, you know, they would go to Moorish Science. Like one more went to the temple and he had a law dictionary. Figure, you know, go into class or whatever, so I take a law dictionary. So he goes there and there was no reference for that there. Because all they did the whole time was just talk about Holy Quran of Moorish Science Temple of America, that's it. And sing it.
No civics at all.
Zero. No law from that perspective. Law from the perspective of the building Moorish Science Temple and you know, divine constitution and bylaws and, you know, additional laws and laws laid down by the prophet, but not law generally, like, you know, universal law or constitutional law or what. It was just limited to the building. So we're just gonna look into a couple perspectives. There was one write-up. I forgot the damn front page, but one of these dissertations on the Moorish Science Temple of America, and this was chapter 2, New Religious Movements Among Black Americans. New Religious Movements Among Black Americans. Historical overview. The Moorish Science Temple of America, INC. And I remember we spoke about that people okay, alright. Yeah, there's so when we go into Moorish leaders, historical message to America. We organized as Moorish Holy Temple of Science in the year 1925. Moorish Temple of Science, 1925. And were legally incorporated as a civic organization under the laws of State of Illinois, 1926. The name Moorish Temple of Science was changed to Moorish Science Temple of America, 1928. in accordance with the legal requirements of the Secretary of State of Illinois. So one of the things that we're dealing with is damage control, because of the disservice that was done by people who had this and kept it in that religious box, even though it was incorporated as a civic organization in 1926, even though it wasn't even incorporated yet in 1925, but 1925 to 1926 means something had to be going on in between that time. It wasn't just name it something and then it just sits there and they do nothing with it.
It's only a year apart.
Had to be something going on with it, right? And then, because of a national organization with a Rotarian complexion as it relates to branch temples became obvious with the increasing number of inquiries from men and women in different sections of the country concerning the purpose of the organization. There are branch temples in 15 different states at this time. Since the work of the Moorish Science Temple of America was largely religious, the organization has legally changed to a religious corporation. It's not part of the incorporated. A religious corporation, and an affidavit to this effect has been properly filed in Cook County Recorder's Office in Illinois, which is at the back of the 101 questionnaire called Our Authority. And then in Our Authority, it makes reference to Heard's Revised Statute. Now, the key here is that the national organization with a Rotarian complexion became obvious with the increasing number of inquiries from men and women in different sections of the country concerning the purpose of the organization. Now, we go back to here. The object of our organization is to help in the great program of uplifting fallen humanity and to teach those things necessary to make our members better citizens. So all these people who were coming into this information about Moorish information, and they started coming in from 1925. Majority of them didn't really come in until 1928 because of the religious mindset that the people were under. So he had to set it up in order to get the minds of the people who were there. Not set it up for Moors to be religious with it. Because the object of our organization is to help in the great program of uplifting fallen humanity. What greater way to uplift fallen humanity but to tell them they're not Negro, black, colored, they're Moors. And bringing them back into their ancient foremothers and forefathers' customs and creed and culture that they thought they knew something about when they really didn't know. And now they were actually being told. But because they were so religious-minded, because they were so dogmatized, so Christianized, so Catholicized, Constantinized, so Inquisition, the religious perspective was brought in order for the people to have something religious to be brought in. But they got brought into the religious aspect of this, but then that's where it stayed at. it didn't evolve into the civic teachings, even though the religious corporation would have civic classes. But it wouldn't be civics relative to nationality and birthrights. It would be civics relative to your divine creed, because they're pushing that this is something religious. That's why it's a religious corporation. And that's why, so, for example, we're just gonna show an example, because we found some online, the religious stuff, so you can really see how much damage control is needed. Because in the 1920s, pushing some religious whatever was fine. But in this age now, where anybody could find out anything, anytime, the information's at their fingertips, you don't play religion with people, because that turns people away. Singing and all that stuff, people just aren't with that. Only people that are with that are people who are caught up in the box of, you know, the church mentality. That you can replace church and put temple there and whatever, they're still doing some different stuff, that's still church. Or they got fezes on and turbans, whatever, that's still church. Don't get caught up, think that because they got sign outside Moorish temple that's not church going on. Right?
I listened on the radio, and I heard that the church in somewhere in the United States, it's like they just worship and listen to Beyonce.
That's great.
It's like a serious thing, like you sing like Beyonce songs and stuff.
Right? So if they can be singing Beyonce or whatever, then Moorish temple shouldn't be singing nothing. Zero singing should be going on. But this was the whole point of the sellout of the Moorish movement. Right? The whole point was to get the people to actually not realize that it really starts with them. Like, they have to realize what's real. If the people get caught up in the damage, not controlling it, they're gonna have problems when it comes to their birthrights. National movement. This is Moorish Nation, flag in the back or whatever like that. Everybody got their robe on and their fez on and their turban or whatever. But this is what's going on in there.
I can't tire you, I'm running. I can't tire you, I'm running up the Moorish highway. If my sister don't go, I can't tire you if my sister don't go. I can't tire you if my sister don't go.
I so remember, during Noble Juali times, that was to bring people to the door. But when you get inside, you're not supposed to get that still going on. As soon as they come inside, they're supposed to switch, start giving them all the real stuff. And this is how you know that it's people who were inserted that had certain positions of power. Or people who were already in the positions of power and they got coerced. Because there's no way that the noble prophet sent by Allah was for this right here. And my sister won't go and all that type of stuff, singing stuff. Right? Have pictures of Noble Juali and all that. You think Noble Juali was singing in some wade in the water or whatever in the 1920s? If they had manufacturing companies or whatever? 3-bang gavel is Masonic. The three bang on the gavel before you start, that's Masonic.
Masonic sign, yeah.
Yeah, boy.
So brother in the chat said, congregation is talking circle, aka talking in circles, coded language.
Congregation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that's like a definition for congregation, because earlier you were saying circle, or church means circle.
Right.
Which we know, circle, circle, ancient Greek. So.
Peace, boy.
Yeah, that speaks to like elders, and you talk to them. Sometimes we'll talk about how their elders back in the day would go to like the building, but then they weren't doing church all the time.
Yeah.
Like after, it wouldn't be Sunday, it might be like on a weekday evening or whatever. They're going to church, but there's no scheduled program or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever it is they say there is, it's when they go inside, it's just adults and they're talking song. They're building out song. So, Islam.
Well, any other comments or questions? Right, so let's read some of this article to coincide how some people, when they start getting into this part of the information, they get lost because they bump into this, which is definitely going to turn people off.
Because that is like going into another church, you know.
With feathers on.
And I'm looking for the temple.
I'm looking for the temple, or I'm looking for freedom, or I'm looking for
yeah,
the light of knowledge, or I've been studying, I found about the Moors, so there's a certain expectation that you're going to have from whoever is presented. And if they're not reaching that standard that you expect, then
something is wrong.
Those people have missed the mark. Because people are now more lost now, because once they turn away from Moorish Science Temple, they're done for. You can't make it to Moorish Science Temple and then say, oh, well, nah, those Moors aren't doing it right, so I'm not going to be a Moor, and think you're going to find something else that's more lucrative to our liberation. This is all that's left. There's nothing else. After this, you're turning back, walking into the flames. Right? So historical overview, Moorish Science Temple of America, Inc. Moors are correctly described as North African Muslims of mixed Arab and Berber descent who cultivated a very urban civilization in Spain in the mid-700s. However, the term Moor, as used by Noble Juali, is a misnomer born of a desire to separate in every way from black, Negro, or African ancestry. This mistaken identity grounded members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Moors, under the leadership of Noble Juali in Asiatic roots. Right, so already from the perspective, because of them going and studying Moorish Science Temple of America, Inc. as a reference point, they're looking at them as fakers. That these Moors right here, under Moorish Science Temple of America, Inc., they're under Noble Juali as Moors as a misnomer. Why are they a misnomer? Because they're in there singing stuff like niggers. That's not Moorish. And when we researched the Moors, we found out that Moors are blah, blah, this, that. We go to Moorish Science Temple, that's supposed to be a replica of what people's concept is of Moors. They're not supposed to look at Moors and think, oh, those are Negroes, or those are black ancestry people, or those are whatever.
Like, I think it was Friday, I was talking to a lady, it was a Canadian. I think her parents is French and native. And she met with one of those people from Germany, Hitler place, Hitler.
Yeah, Germany.
Yeah, so I was telling her that Hitler they love the people that are not black people, but so-called black people.
Mm.
And she said it to the lady from there. And she said, no, you kill them. So I said, put her on the phone. So she came on the phone and she goes, Hitler killed all minorities. He never liked minorities. I said, when I see you personally, I'll make you know what it means, because it's going to happen right here where you are right now.
Yeah.
That's what she said to me. Hitler killed all minority people.
Yeah.
And I want to explain to her that it's not, that it's black people. But I'm not black, so it wouldn't kill me.
Yeah.
Because minority, what it means is not that what you think. It's not what they think. So right there now, she's from there and she still has that in her head.
Mm.
That it kill minorities.
Yeah.
I don't know what minority means.
Right. You know, which is the same thing with the damage control.
Correct.
With people hearing Moorish Temple of America and think that when they go and they see that's what this
Same
is.
thing.
And then but they turn away from it opposed to embracing, or opposed to going there asking, but somebody asked me. How come you guys are singing stuff that I hear in the church and stuff like that in here? Because when I study, that's not what I found out that this is about. You know what I mean? Like, there's too many different Moors out there with stuff going on that's not doing this for me to say that this is really what it's about. And then when you go in there, they're going to talk to you against the people who are talking to you about, this is not some religious go sing or whatever. Right? If this is religious, it's not about singing and all that. This is about exercising rights. Right? And then again, this mistaken identity grounded members of Moorish Science Temple of America under the leadership of Noble Juali in Asiatic roots. Whether consciously or unconsciously, this created an obscure link to the ancient Arabic order of the nobles of the mystic shrine, internationally known as Shriners. The Shriners had been organized as a community service fraternity in New York some 50 years earlier than Noble Juali's appearance on the scene as a Moor or Muslim in 1913.
So the Shriners were here before?
Yeah. From the perspective of organizations.
Yeah. We're always here.
But from the perspective of nations, Shriners are in the Moroccan Empire, if they're over here. And they know that that's where they are. You know what I mean? From the outset, the Moors distinguished themselves from other black Americans by the usurpation of Moorish attire. Just look up usurpation right there. Because they're saying that, like, the reference point they're making to usurpation is that we're usurping some Shriner stuff. Noble Juali usurped the Shriners in order to give the blacks a Moorish whatever. Right? And again, them making this connection to the Shriners and all that is the same thing that we had in this, with these people with their knocking stuff, banging gavels 3 times like they're in some type of lodge. And if somebody on the outside is sitting there that has that knowledge, then that's automatically, that's what they're going to think. Oh, these guys are, not only are these guys religious, but they're also Masons. And then they're leaving with that perspective. Because remember, you have this time right now where there's no such thing as secret societies anymore, because information at everybody's fingertips. There's no secret.
There's no secret.
Everybody knows, everybody guys handshakes, hand gestures, whatever they do, all the rituals from 1 to 99, they know everything that these people do.
We got a Netflix series on it too.
Right? So they can't really hide. You know, but she's making the reference point that Moors are the usurpers, and the Shriners are the ones that actually had it going on, and they're the ones that were established before Noble Juali and all that. Why? Because of people like this. that are taking this thing and playing like it's some type of stand at the podium or whatever. This is about out there. This is not about just what's going on in here only. Right? You got.
Yeah, usurpation. The unlawful assumption of the use of property which belongs to another. So basically that's what they're doing. They're taking our property, right?
So that's what Shriners do.
Yeah, the Shriners are really the ones that are usurping.
Yeah.
Because they'll even tell you themselves that, well, yeah, the fez was handed down to us by the ancient brotherhood and the white brotherhood and stuff like that. Who we know is not them.
Yeah, there's more there. An interruption with a disturbing a man in his right and possession. The unlawful seizure or assumption of sovereign power, the assumption of government or supreme power by force or illegally, in derogation of the Constitution and of the rights of the lawful ruler. So that's basically what we're experiencing here in Canaanland, de facto
Right.
government.
Exactly.
And they even say they're de facto in their stuff.
Admitting that they're
Yeah.
usurpers.
Yeah.
But
And here it is right here, right?
they're going to make reference to it like we're the usurpers.
Yeah.
Us going back to our nationality and birthrights of our ancient foremothers and forefathers and Moors is us taking some from Shriners or whatever. How are they thinking warped like that? Because they bumped into some of these religious ink Moors that totally warp people's perspective as to what this is. You know what I mean? Because all they have to do is go to the place. As soon as they go there, like for example, when we're at the other spot, we know we had colonists come in there. We had highwaymen come in there, sit down and listen. When we were doing classes in Flemo, we had highwaymen come in there and sit down. I know that they're undercover. What are you here for? Yeah, anybody got questions or whatever? New guy? No questions? No, everything's good or whatever. Right? I guess everything's good. If they're doing their little, let's check and see what they're doing or whatever like that. All right, well, if you checked and leave, then everything must be good here. Clearly, these people have no issues with what we're doing. If we're going to send them writs or whatever, they'll send back, oh yeah, we got your writs, thank you very much or whatever, you know, we're just letting you know that, you know.
We got your back.
Right?
But don't tell them, eh?
Don't tell the Negroes.
No.
Don't tell the Negroes. From the outset, the Moors distinguished themselves from other black Americans by the usurpation of Moorish, right? The Moors distinguished themselves by usurping Moorish stuff.
Usurping your own stuff, eh?
Right? Moors' attire and symbols, most notably the fez and turban, and the star and crescent moon. Right? The star and crescent moon is specifically for the Shriners only? How come they didn't say that the Muslims took stuff from Shriners? Why are they relating it to us? You know, all the BS that they put, like we just uploaded the video on Canaanland Moors 2 with Dane Calloway plagiarizing some video. Verbatim, like word for word. Right? Reading the same script that whoever video he took it from, reading the same script. Nobody's not going to talk about that, about their plagiarizing, but they're talking about Moorish Wali plagiarized stuff like that. Right? The star and crescent moon, Muslims use that. All over the world. Nobody's saying that the Muslims are usurping some Shriners or whatever.
Some Moors are the Muslims, right?
Well, especially knowing that the Moors are Muslims, right? They wouldn't even go there. You know? But as soon as the quote-unquote black Americans or whatever trying to get themselves together, now somebody has issues. You know? And we're public enemy number one. Because everybody else is already united. You know, we're the only ones not realizing what's going on. We're recorders of Moorish history, we don't know who these recorders are, but they're making claims. Recorders of Moorish history believe that Timothy Drew became acquainted with and perhaps even was a member of the Shriners in early 20th century. Right, so now connecting him now to Shriners to the point where he's a member. Right? Now if he is a member of the lodge, they should be able to show some type of documentation to prove that he was in there. Right? And again, something that they never presented. They would say, yeah, he has a fez, and yeah, he took that from whatever, and he took that from whoever. But when it's time to show and prove that he was a Mason. Like show us him with his fez with the stuff on it, pinned down and all that. Just like all the Masons who know that we know that they're Masons, they got that. No. And again, make sure that you go to mooresandmasonry.org and get Brother Abdullah's book, Moors and Masonry. By the turn of the century, the ancient Egyptian Arabic order of the Nobles of the Mystic Shrine, a specifically black Shriners group, had been established. Many believe Drew Ali affiliated with this group either formally or informally. Though facts are scarce, these assumptions gain some validity from the similarities between the attire, rhetoric, and symbols of the two organizations. Both the Shriners and the Moors adopted externals garnered from Middle Eastern culture. Oh, so that means the Moors didn't usurp some Shriners then, if the Moors and the Shriners got stuff from the Middle Easterns. And if we're talking about Middle Easterns, we know we're talking about Asiatics. So we're talking about dark-skinned people, we're not talking about somebody that doesn't look like us. Both the Shriners and the Moors adopted externals garnered from Middle Eastern culture, but show no genuine ties to the religious beliefs and practices of the Islamic tradition. C. Eric Lincoln describes the Moorish Science Temple tradition as a melange of black nationalism and Christian revivalism with an awkward, confused patina of the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad. Black nationalism and Christian revivalism. Go back and we listen to what these people are doing. With fezzes on and turbans, we see that they're engaging in some type of Christian whatever, right? When they're supposed to know better. And again, going back, that when we go back to what we were saying before, the only reason that this became religious was because there were so many religious Negroes. So in order to attract the religious Negroes, he called it religious and set it up religious. But this was not some religious thing. If we have a flag right there, that's a national flag. There's no way that this is just religious only. And as soon as it's presented from that perspective, that's how you know that these people are playing you. That's how you know that's not the place that you want to be at, because you're not going to learn about your nationality and birthrights. You're going to be a black nationalism and Christian revivalism member. The facts surrounding the birth of Noble Drew Ali are not consistent. Clifton Marsh cites the birthplace as North Carolina, as does anthropologist Sylviane Diop. It worked?
Yeah, I got you.
It was proper? Alright. Alright, bro.
Thank you, bro.
No problem, man. Anytime, bro. Jeez. Diop, Sylvia, peace, brother. Sylviane Diop, Sylviane. Sylviane. Diouf. Diop records a different story of Juali's early life. She too relates that the prophet Noble Juali was born in North Carolina in 1886. Until the age of 23, the prophet was known by his given name Timothy Drew. In his youth, he is said to have worked in a circus with a Hindu fakir, and given the success of the show, may have decided to start his own order, which was a mixture of beliefs drawn from systems ranging from Freemasonry to Buddhism to Islam. Apart from Diop's reference to Noble Juali's brief work with the circus, one can only speculate about the early life of Timothy Drew. So when again, it goes back to this thing about the perspective that the people are getting once they deal with the ink people or the religiousized, once they deal with the religiousized perspective of Moorish, they don't get the full idea of what it is that Noble Juali presented or brought. So they were saying, he was in a circus and with some Hindus or whatever, and he was the success of the show, all this BS. Right now, let's go to what was taught about Noble Juali. This is an article, or a flyer, I mean, that was in the Moorish Guide newspaper. Professor Drew, the Egyptian adept student. Office hours, 10 to 12 a.m., 6 to 8 p.m., 181 Warren Street, Newark, New Jersey. I am a Muslim. Professor Drew is a man who was born with divine power. He was taught by the adepts of Egypt. I have the secret of destroying the germs of tuberculosis and cancer of the lungs in 10 to 30 days. Your lungs can and are very strict examination that the germs are entirely destroyed. Also, destroy the germs of eating cancer, gout, rheumatism, lumbago, heart trouble, female diseases, and serious affections to the body. Call at once, adults and children, and be relieved of your sufferings. If you have any questions or doubt, if you have any doubt about my treatments, you can be healed for $1 before $1 is paid with security. Through these divine treatments, there has been great success of contagious and long-standing diseases, which have been cured in 2 to 3 days. I also give divine instructions and interpret the Bible from Genesis to Revelations. Also have 18 years of Christ's life that is left out of your holy Bible for all those who desire to know more about Jesus the Christ. Right? Professor Drew, the Egyptian adept. Let's pass that around. So things like that is what they would be, they should be, when they go to the door of Moorish Science Temple and celebrate and say, here's Jesus and all that stuff, they should be getting something. That's supposed to solidify to the individual that, okay, this is actually what it is, not leaving like, well, I wonder what that was or whatever. The year 1913 marks the founding of the Canaanite Temple in Newark, New Jersey, by now Prophet Noble Juali. Susan D. Johnson Day, divine minister and historian of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Inc., viewed the naming of the temple as an indication that so-called Negroes were Asiatic origin from the Holy Land of Canaan. This seems to be circumspect Moorish apologia, as most researchers and black historians identify the 1913 foundation as the Moorish Holy Temple of Science or some derivation of the term. Right? So again, you had Old Canaanite Temple, Old Canaanite Temple, (1913). Moorish Temple of Science, 1925-26. Moorish Science Temple, 1928. And you had Moorish Divine National Movement, 1916. So all these transitions were made, but the objective was always to uplift our people. And in order to uplift the people, again, Noble Duali incorporated the Moorish Science Temple of America, but he didn't MSTA Inc. the temple. It was Moorish Science Temple of America that was incorporated. Moorish Science Temple of America with the comma and then the INC after, that's people after Noble Duali that did it that way. Because by doing that way, now they can get their state support. Which is why you have, for example, the Moors near Pennsylvania, that they pretty much would go to City Hall anytime. Anytime. The ones in Philadelphia, they have access to that. Now, when you look at the climate of what's going on, in order for you to say that the state and the Moorish Science Temple of America are one and the same thing, you're definitely coming from the Inc. perspective. Because as soon as you see, right now, 2018, state, province, city, country, you're questioning, are those actually de jure or are they corporate? So, for Moorish Science Temple of America in 2018 to say that, yeah, they're part of the state, just like that. And then people see, oh, because they got certain things, that means that they're making progress for the Moors. No, they're enslaving. Because you cannot say that you have a national flag, which means that you're a nation, which means you're your own governmental entity, but then you're going to some other governmental entity in order to be something or be established. Right? You can't ride the fence. If, for example, our going to them, our going to the state was not to register Moorish Science Temple of America. It was to put them on notice that there is a Moorish Science Temple of America that's going to be here exercising. Right? We didn't go to them to get, you know, the thing from them, and now we're using the thing that we got from them to say that we're Moorish Science Temple. We're already that. This is something from 1913. What do you mean you guys want something from us? You show us something. That you're who you say that you are. Oh, you got a building, you got, okay, so you went and fact-checked to know who we are because they came back and requested certain things from us when we went to register with them. In order to qualify that, okay, yeah, you guys can really do what it is that you're saying that you're going to do. Right? And then we have free reign of, we don't have to, we're not under any Religious Corporations Act, or we're not under any tax act, or we're not under anything where they're going to come to us and say, well, we need to see something from you guys about what you guys are doing, because none of their concern. Right? Which is why, again, when we went to them initially with the concept of, we're a religious corporation, we see you guys recognize all these other corporations out here, we want some type of recognition. And their thing was like, no, we can't really do that because we don't really give city stuff to religions. Religions really don't get those things. And then last year when we sent the proclamation and we said that, oh no, we're indigenous, now they got something that they can say, oh yeah, well yeah, we could give you this. Right? And it's specifically because we said that we're indigenous. But we said that as Moorish Science Temple. We didn't say that as some religious whatever. We said as Moorish Science Temple, which they know based on, if they go do their research, that this was a religious organization. They gave a religious organization a proclamation for indigenous rights or indigenous acknowledgement. Which lets you know that somebody who's calling themselves Moorish Science Temple has this thing messed up. Because way more people should be able to walk into Moorish Science Temple of America and it be something that they stay there. Not leave there and then they're coming to us like, well, we went there and we're not even going to them. We can't even physically walk into your temple, but we'll go to your temple before we go to those guys' temple. When they're supposed to be doing the exact same thing that what it is that we're doing. They should be the ones with the honorary membership and the online, and you could go to classes online or whatever. It's not us. If they say that they're been around since this and they got the charter and they're the authority and they're the official whatever, then how come they're not repping it how they're supposed to be repping it? If they're the official. How come people are going visiting their spot and they're like, nah, I don't know about that. I can't do with the church thing. And that's the first thing that Moors come with. They can't do the church thing with these people. So I'm not even going Moorish Science Temple. No, it's not about what they're doing. So I'll go get the stuff. There's stuff in there still, even though they're doing BS. But you're going to have to sit through the BS to get the opportunity to try to get some stuff. Because all these different temples have Moors in them that are where we're at. Like for example, a Moor sent me, Brother Kennick and those Moors in Virginia, near Virginia. And he was presenting what they were presenting as if, you know, well, we see them being Moorish Science Temple, but we don't think that they're being it in the right capacity. You know, they're being it from that religious perspective or whatever. Little did he know that they got a allodial nationality card. Like, they're not Moors that are playing, they're not national. Right? When we went to Virginia to visit those Moors are on right to travel and all that. Those Moors are on you know, force issues to change based on your activity. They're not playing, pray, and sing hymns and all that. They're talking about meet with certain people in whatever jurisdiction. Right? Like actually meeting with them. People who are U.S. whatever. Meeting with them so that Moors could have a little bit of freedom. And again, they can do that because Virginia is one of the first states or whatever, so that, you know, when they're talking about exercising their Moorish sovereignty or exercising their birthright, it's something that's already been exercised there. They're not doing something new that these people never seen before or whatever like that. They know exactly what's up. And they deal with these Moors just like that, that they know exactly what's up. Right? These Moors. The nationality and identification card issued to members by Noble Drew Ali is unchanged from its original 1926 current content and appearance. The card contains symbols and text that affirm the values of the Moors. The graphics on the card include a star and a crescent moon, the symbol of the Moorish Circle 7 Holy Quran that was divinely prepared by Noble Drew Ali. The card contains a space for the signature of the Moorish member and this statement of nationality. This is your nationality and identification card for the Moorish Science Temple of America and birthrights for the Moorish Americans. We honor all divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius. May the blessings of the God of our Father, Allah, be upon you that carry this card. I do hereby declare that you are a Muslim under the divine laws of the Holy Quran of Mecca. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I am a citizen of U.S.A. Each card is validated with the name of Noble Drew Ali, founder of Moorish Science Temple of America, Inc., and proclaims the cardinal beliefs of the Moors: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, in order to serve as a reminder to the bearer to uphold these truths and values. Now, we'll go to another one with regard to the whole thing about I am a citizen of U.S.A. And again, going back to the Moorish leaders' historical message, the object of our organization is to help in the great program of uplifting fallen humanity and teach those things necessary to make our members better citizens. Right? So there's two jurisdictions there. There's a member's jurisdiction, then there's a citizen's jurisdiction. The objective is to make the members better citizens, not make the members citizens. So the purpose of the Moorish Science Temple of America is to make the people be better at citizenry, or be better civilians, to be better students of the law is what the temple is for. When you become a better student of the law, then you become a better citizen. When you go to the temples that are not presenting this in the correct fashion, you're going to have them make you feel that the Moorish Science Temple is what makes you be a Moor. That you had to go to this building in order to be a Moor. You had to go to this building and then they have to give you the card, and when you get the card from the guy who's sitting there or the lady that's the secretary or whatever, now you're a Moor. When we know that being a Moor is your concept. Being a Moor is where's your mindset at? Not you got some papers is why you're a Moor. Right? So this is the other aspect that you're going to bump into, that it's going to be, you know, like Drew Ali talked about, truth and falsehood strangely mixed. It's going to be either they're religious and they're doing the religious whatever, or they're going to be doing the civic aspect, but not with regard to constitution. It'll be civic aspect with regard to enforcing acts and statutes and codes and ordinances and making sure that you have your license and make sure that all your stuff is up to date, because we're part and parcel of the government, but that government's a corpse. And if you're going to be part and part of a government that's a corpse, then why not be part and parcel of Moorish Science Temple if you want to be part and parcel of the government? If you're going to be part and parcel of something, and the something that they're telling you be part and parcel of is a U.S. corporation, you might as well then be part and parcel of Moorish Science Temple, because that's a corporation. And it would be more in your favor to be part and parcel to that than part and parcel to some foreign jurisdiction that you don't have anything to do with. Yeah, Mark.
when did that confusion come in with the part and parcel? Because they have some elders that they actually have that in the divine bylaw and constitution, that they have partial and we're part and partial to the same government. And then they have this, like these are elders like Sheila. I don't know if you know Sheila's Breeze Bay.
Yeah.
She her divine constitution and bylaw states that it's part and partial.
Partial, yeah.
Right. So it's like, when did that confusion come in? Because she's clearly probably been for a while now. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
So and I've been on this since 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
You've been on 2008, right? I'm going so forth. Ties has been around for forever, right?
Right. I'm
sure he knows about that partial and partial, right? Because I'm sure he presents it as partial.
Right.
Right. So when did that confusion come in?
Well, from what the understanding is that once Noble-Juali transitioned, then everything that was Moorish, when you hear Moorish say, I rise, I give honors to Noble-Juali, I give honors to everything Moorish. Everything Moorish they're talking about is the temple stuff that Noble-Juali brought, not generally everything Moorish worldwide. So after Noble-Juali passed, the things that were Moorish fell under jurisdictions of individuals. So Kirkman Bay had some stuff, Givensell had some stuff, Lomax Bay had some stuff, Pearl Ali had some stuff. Everybody had some little aspects of it, and everybody was pushing whatever they had as, this is what the Prophet left. In order for people with credibility to look less credible, stuff had to be changed. Because the person who's the actual successor, if they have something, and then somebody else has something, and those things are equal, then the person who isn't the successor obviously is the fraud. But if you have things change, like parcel changing to partial, that's to confuse today's time. People who are actually going to be using those things. Because remember, after Noble-Juali passed, the stuff went back to church. They don't really know divine constitution and bylaws like how we read it today, and then every word you got the law dictionary on web. They weren't doing that.
No.
Whatever grand chief, grand governor, secretary, whatever they say, that's what it is. And they're just going with what though, because they're the heads of the movement and all that stuff, when the movement's the people's stuff.
So in the sense, they're keeping on the divine side, but they're not really going into the national in the sense that, because national you're dealing with law now and civics, right?
Right.
So they're not really touching on that in a sense, because you're not, like you said, we literally go in the dictionary.
Yeah, because if they go religious, don't forget they're part and partial. So by saying religious, they're playing it safe with the masters. Because remember, it's the national perspective that's going to dethrone these people that are claiming some power right now. Because they should be paying us taxes. You guys telling us about taxes or licenses or whatever. It's not your land, it's not Europe. But if they go with partial, now this is Europe. And now those people are really your head of state and your secretary of state and your president and your mayor and your whatever. Right? Because these people are directly with the colonizers. So to say partial and then have Moors do what we do, go check dictionary, you look up dictionary, there's no such word as even partial in the dictionary, in the law dictionary. So if partial's not even in there, and parcel's in there, but partial's not in there, then somebody's playing games if that's divine constitution and bylaws, which means that it should be law that it's dealing with.
Pardon the interjection. But even if you do check the law, actually I think it's there because I checked it before. But if you check for parcel, it's obvious that's what the prophet said because
What's talking about?
It's obvious. The definition is obvious. You can't even dispute the definition. It says what it is. Right? So anything else is the opposite. Right, sorry. So I think parcel's in there, so somebody check, but it says totally almost the opposite of what parcel is. And I remember,
Yeah, parcel.
Oh, you got it? Okay.
Parcel, to divide an estate. Is one definition. Verb. Word parcel is not a sufficient description of the property alleged in an indictment to have been stolen. The prisoner was indicted for stealing one parcel of the value of 1 shilling, 1 goods. That's a case law. A part or portion of land, a part of an estate again. So it keeps going back to estate.
Right, to estate.
Yeah. Unless you see that it's it's nationality and divine.
Yeah.
It can't be divine. They can't be saying it's divine, but they're not even expressing to the nation really what's
To the national perspective, to the national ideals.
You know, to me, it seems that whoever brought it down, no, their intention is to divide the nation. They're using partial.
Right. Yeah.
Instead of
yeah.
part,
To make the nation part. Because even with parcel, you're still dealing with part.
Right.
Right? But you're dealing with part because there's Moors in different states or whatever. So when they had the convention and they said President Noble Drew Ali, that was because every Moorish Science Temple was a state. And every quote-unquote grand governor was state governor. And every grand sheik was mayor. Every treasurer was the bank or the mint or the quote-unquote treasury fund for that particular jurisdiction. And then all of them had a flag, which means that it was national principles that they're dealing with, right? It wasn't just some building and you come to the building of the Moorish Science Temple and you go to your meetings and then whatever. That's not what was really going on. These people were being made better citizens. These people were being made to stand on their own based on right law, not based on codes and acts that were enforced on them to be quote-unquote citizens of something.
Pardon the introduction.
Yeah, Mark.
But on online etymology dictionary, it says partial here is an adjective, number 1. Sorry. So it's an adjective. So we all know what an adjective is. And it says here, one-sided bias from French, partial, or how we pronounce that. From medieval Latin, divisionable, solitary, partial from Latin, a piece, a part, a piece, a share, a division, to grant, a lot, a sense of not whole, incomplete, is attested from the 14th century. Partiality, and it goes on and on, whatever.
And then it goes back again, that if the idea is that they're claiming that Moors are partial, if Moors are part, if Moors are only getting a share, right, then who's getting where's all the rest of your stuff going? If you're part and partial, and you only have partial, where's the rest of the stuff? Who has that? Because if it's our estate, we should have all. Like every individual has all. Because we already know that you can't really own what you could control. So it's not you have it and it's yours in that idea. You know, we have, you know, we look at the vast empire, and then Moors are mad, well, now it's mine and you can't have it or whatever because it's my right and all that stuff. It's not that. We already know what's up. Everybody's gonna have their little portion, you know what I mean? And again, it goes back to these misconceptions from back then that caused the lag in certain activity that should have been done. So when, for example, Moorish Science Temples of America members in Detroit should have been getting up all those properties when these properties were $1 or whatever in Detroit. Everybody who said that they're Moorish American or whatever should have went and got 10 of those. At $1, get 10 of those, fix those up, rent those out. Just like what they're doing right now with it. That these Moors had the opportunity or whatever, they put it out there, yeah, it's tough for $1 in Detroit or whatever. And Moorish Science Temple of America there, who's really, quote unquote, the government and whatever, the indigenous people or whatever, dropped the ball. They didn't go apply for one. All that part and partial, they didn't go to the people who they're partial to and say, give us 20 buildings. If they're so part and partial, how come they just don't go down to the people right now and get all these blocks? It has to be. Because their purpose is uplifting their people. That's what Moorish Science Temple of America was founded for. That when you come in here and you be a member, every time you leave here and go up there, you're better than when you came in. And every time you go out there again, then you're better than last week. And you're better than the week before. And then that's going to be happening so much that, you know, you're going to see that even people around you are going to be realizing, hey, that was different or whatever. How come you don't want to go to the club no more or whatever like that? Sorry, you're studying. How come you don't want to whatever? Sorry, studying. Because once the mindset changes, it's over. And the mindset can't change once you're getting warped lessons. And we already know that the Negro, Black, whoever's been selling the people off. But the more sellout is keeping this thing as some religious whatever. Keeping this as some divine and your connection to Allah and the inner heart and the love of the, and all that stuff. And that's all they're doing. That's not being translated into life. That's just translated to lessons that they hear at the pulpit of the whatever, and they take home those lessons, no different than the church people. You go to their house and they have the one page that the Bible's on forever. And that Bible's just on that page only. Psalms 23, and that's just going to protect the house or whatever. These people never lit an incense, nothing like that. They just have this book open, getting dust. Right? No different than these people just pushing this religious stuff. And if you start talking national, oh well, you know, yeah, but, and then they start going into, you know, well, the Holy Quran and all that stuff. How about Law Dictionary?
Part of the interjection, but that's that's going on, especially now in the time of, in the age of information, right? The people is to blame too, because information is at your fingertips now. There's no excuses. Yep. The dictionary online, parts and parcel shouldn't be an issue anymore. Look it up. They'll tell you definitely. Yeah. Right? And you should know that, okay, well, I'm a whole, I'm not part, then I can do this then, or whatever the case is. You don't need somebody to be always dictating. That's why the prophet said that if he could only make us think again. Right? Because yes, he brought a holy book because he knows to have a nation you need certain things. Right? That's why our holy book is only this big. It's not like everybody else's. Right? Where people don't, like he said, people don't read it. It's like one page, always. So people are not studying. Even their own, even whatever they die for, they're even studying it. So the whole point of the prophet didn't speak on everything because back then they were just coming out of slavery not too long ago and they were indoctrinated in Christianity. So dropping people like Law Dictionary on people and telling them certain things will just blow their mind. They'll probably just go back into slavery because it's way off their head. Like, you know what I mean? It's like you just spoke a different language to them just now. You know what I mean? So he had to do it in a way where the people gravitate to it. That's why he used Jesus. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Which really, if you understand it, is justice and all these other things that he used, that people are specifically trying to make it just like a church thing now, when really he was just trying to connect the people in the way that he knew best because at their state of mind at the time.
Yep.
But we're at a time now where everything is at our disposal to overstand, understand. There's no excuses now. Right? And an individual has to start looking in the mirror and saying, you know what I mean? I have to do better for my nation, and my family, or whatever. And even, it doesn't mean you have to be preaching, whatever, but you just live by example. Because, trust me, example works even better. Islam.
No doubt, the proudest day for the Moors was the day of their first incorporation in May 1928 in Cook County, Illinois. First incorporated as a civic organization in 1926. The Moors were reincorporated as a religious organization in 1928. To commemorate the occasion, the first Moorish convention was held in Chicago that year, an occasion remembered as the Day of the Great Meeting. The convention is recalled at every Moorish gathering by the prominent placement of the photo the Great Meeting is on. However, within months of their Great Meeting, Juali and his followers were embroiled in struggles for leadership and power. Title to the name, Moorish Science Temple of America, Inc. had to be twice defended in court by Grand Sheikh R. Love L. in cases involving rogue organization using the Moors' name, but allegedly under spurious leadership of scoundrels. So you had, again, after Noble Juali passing, you had these people fighting for leadership. By the time the people fighting for leadership figured out their position, those same people were starting to take Moors to court because Moors were exercising this because they didn't want anything to do with the BS that these people were about. Certain Moors already stepped away and they were starting to do their own, ideals, because they realized that the mission that was established was now in the hands of people who had ulterior motives. And because their motives were as scandalous as they were, just go to Chicago Defender newspaper, just go to Chicago Defender newspaper and look up all the articles on Moors. And, people were talking about disbanding the Moors and kick the Moors out of Chicago and all this type of BS. No different like it was going on in Spain. Just because they realized, the Moors realized what it is that they had. And they started exercising their birthright, and they had to make sure that this thing doesn't make it to the level that it was supposed to make it to. Remember, there was manufacturing companies, there was laundromats, restaurants, there were all these things. There was colonies that Moors built. Moors had their own jurisdictions that everybody knew that that was the Moorish jurisdiction. The colony in Virginia, right now there's Moors there right now that are L's and Bays, but they don't know anything about being Moors.
Wow.
Like they're Negroes, but their name's L and Bay. Right now.
To me, pardon the interjection, but when I hear that, what I hear is a baby having a firearm.
Right.
Walking around and just being a baby. And it's to go also forward on what the brother just mentioned too, when he said it's really to the people to look on it. These positions, a lot of these positions that are that we function as more for the sake of the government, sometimes we might not like what we see, not even knowing the position that the individual is holding. And with those positions, people have to see that everybody is one. There's not no so-called big I's and little U's,
Right.
So it's like people don't have to see that, those who are functioning in position have to see that they're servants to the people. And the people don't have to see that those who are in the positions, they're here for y'all. You know?
Good. Good. Any other comments or questions? The Federal Bureau of Investigation kept secret files on both the individual and the organization, but officials never had sufficient cause to act on any of the information they gleaned from informants within the group. So all of the time frame since before Noble Drew Ali transitioned to probably even now still today, FBI never moved on the info they got back from their informants. Right? Which shows that the whole play of the informant wasn't to try to do something to Moorish Science Temple or whatever. It was strictly just about having informants in there who were sent in there or groomed to be there, and then their job is just cause confusion. That's all. You don't have to do anything else. All you have to do is just cause confusion out here. Just make it harder for people to get, like what you're saying, not seeing it as one. Having the divine and the national as one thing. As soon as you have the separate, and then you have Moors over here saying whatever, and then you have Moors over here saying something different, and the Moors over here saying, and then these Moors have the website, they say they're the official Moorish whatever, but these guys don't have the official, but they're doing more official stuff than these guys over here. But then people are looking at, you know, what Noble Drew Ali said, words and deeds. They're just looking at, oh, well, you know, how they talk and how they present or how they, whatever makes them official, right? But there's actual things that you got to be able to show. If you can't show it, don't even talk, right?
You know, it's funny you said that, because I had seen that, like for me being active, I see that the only way one can really be active is if they truly overs what they're doing for themselves. You know, I was fortunate to go out and be active with as a Moor with Tax for Q, because I see that for me, while I was doing it, I had to catch myself. Because when you're active as a Moor, if you're not really in tune, you would see the lower self start rising on up and you think it's the higher self, but you gotta always have that on a noose. The higher self always has to have that on a noose. So as I'm hearing the FBI stuff, it's having me trickling forward on in the site, seeing that when I dealt with a lady, I spoke with her, and she was saying, oh no, we have to pay for register mail, Canada. And I was like, yeah, that don't apply to me. And then she was saying, no, and I'm like, excuse me, ma'am, you're not hearing me, I'm a Moor, average indigenous in this land. And then I seen that she getting frightened, and there's only me and her in the store. And when I seen that, I was like, madam, I don't mean to talk to you in this way, but I'm saying to you that as Moor being average indigenous, we have our right to function according to that which is in law. Not Acts, statutes, codes, rules, and regulations, law. So you telling me I can't be who I am, that's not right. If you don't know, then do you know? She's like, oh no, we don't do that. I said, are you saying you don't do that or you don't know? And she's saying, no, I don't know. And I said, okay, well, you know, you should mention those things. Can you transfer me to someone that does know? Or nobody else is here. So the more I speak with her, the more I'm realizing that every question, every statement I say, it's like stomping that lower self more and more and more. And even if you don't cite it, you still gotta have that vision, because it's very easy to just flip, you know. So I said, can I speak with your manager? You know, she called her manager, and she called her manager on her cell phone. We say this too, she called her manager on her cell phone. You know, she called her manager on her cell phone. She was explaining it to the manager, but she couldn't even really explain the scenario because she didn't really comprehend it. So I said, may I speak with the manager, because I see you're having a little struggles trying to express it. And I spoke with the manager, and I just mentioned, you know, Madame, I'm a Moor, and we're having this and that, and we have the right to function according to our function. And in international law, which is an advocate of our rights, that's what it is that I'm doing. And the manager said, okay, can you give the phone back to the clerk? I told her what to do, and there was no problem. But my point in what I'm saying is, I've heard of, conquering the, you know, the lower self, not ego tripping, not being, you know, too prideful. Ain't nothing wrong with pride, but not being too prideful. But when I heard Noble Drew Ali said it, that was like a sledgehammer to the chest. It was like, shucks, I've been hearing this all the while, but how come I couldn't see it? So it takes, you know, you gotta see the higher self, because the higher self is gonna humble oneself. You know, not bring you low, but bring you to a state for you to identify the lower self. And I can see that was the whole program, the agenda of the so-called puppeteers, the FBI. They knew what they were doing when they had them snitches, they had them informants on into them temples. You know, they would say, you know what? Niggas weren't fed this? Shoot, all we gotta do is just show them a little envy. Let them get a little taste of their own medicine. So we gotta be mindful of this, being prideful, because you know, the same thing that could make us feel good, if we're not mindful of it and we're not knowing where it's coming from, then we're gonna lose that source.
It is true, though, that Noble Drew Ali had many detractors, as he had supporters, even within his own ranks. As membership flourished, prosperity grew into greed for both wealth and power among the leaders of the Moors. Right, so in the papers, you find that out. Just reading the FBI papers, that once the people moved away from making this civic, once the people said, no, we're not dealing with this from a civic perspective, we're going to play the religious stuff like what these guys are playing, then here we are, having to deal with this confusion. And, you know, like Drew Ali said, new Moors are going to come with their eyes open, and they're going to carry out what's supposed to be carried out. And that's the time that we're in right now. You can look up the article, October 26, 2018. Morocco abruptly drops clock change. Morocco abruptly drops clock change. The announcement comes less than 2 days before the clocks would have gone back by 1 hour on Sunday. Avoiding the switch would save an hour of natural light, Administrative Reform Minister Mohammed Ben Abdelkader told Maghreb Press. The North African nation joins a number of others, mainly in Africa and Asia, which do not use daylight savings. While many people around the world enjoy the extra hour in bed, that comes as clocks go back 1 hour for wintertime. There have been prominent campaigns to abolish it. One UK campaign group even says staying at summertime all year round would reduce traffic accidents, because road users would be able to see better in the evenings. The European Union said in August it would recommend that its member countries scrap the twice-yearly clock change. Others welcomed the decision, like this commenter in Algeria, who joked his newly aligned Moroccan neighbors would also be closer to Algerian culture, including its square pizzas. and its social media user is simply relieved that Morocco will remain at tea time throughout the entire year.
Well, that was the whole intention of them creating these calendars to have
Exactly.
people them get away from being in tune.
Yep. And again, everybody's finding out that it's you better be lined up with the stars and all that. You better, you know, like if we're gonna adopt something religious as Moors, let it be astrology. Let that be your religion. If you're gonna be a religiousized Moor and you want to sing and stuff like that, sing about some cosmology stuff.
More than the sun and the star.
Well, when you think about it, because people, when you think of God or Allah or anything spiritual, they think of the unseen. But the stars, the sun, the moon, you see them. There's no disputing that, that they're there. So nobody can tell you that you're worshiping whatever.
Invisible.
A false god or something. They're there.
They never say they're not coming tomorrow. They're always coming.
Exactly. But the whole point is that it's all aligned with our body, because they even say, scientists say that we are made of stardust, right? And everything is aligned, right? Even with our anatomy inside our body, everything is aligned. So when people hear spirituality, they think about reading the Psalms and singing hymns and getting in the Holy Spirit or whatever the case is, but realistically, spirituality is bigger than that. While a lot of people think, oh, it's black magic or voodoo and stuff, if you use it for bad intention, then, but if you use it for good, then it is what it is, right? You use it to uplift yourself and your family, or your nation, or whatever your purpose is. So people think, oh, you're burning incense and you're lighting candles, and people think that's creepy. Like, that makes no sense. If you go in the Vatican, there's like 100 candles.
Yeah.
So it's like people have to realize that the stuff that they're trying to tell you to stay away from is what they're using to
against
you, because you know we're the first one to say, oh, that's some devil stuff and that's some Illuminati stuff and that's some whatever stuff. When what they call it, the star, whatever they call when they do the ritual, that's the star right there. That's the star that they're doing their magic on. It's all stuff. So one's got to realize that it's all in your intentions, right? There's no, oh, you have to do it this way or do it that way, or you have to use chicken blood or whatever. It's whatever will resonate with you, right? It's whatever you feel in yourself, good in yourself and good intentions, and you know what I mean? You just do it. There's no better, right? There's no perfect way. It's whatever level you're at.
Just if anybody wanted to get their sandwiches, there's chickpea, BLT, and nugget in the back. You just talked about Tesla, and I think he also has some quinoa. What you got back there, Tess? Quinoa squares?
Quinoa squares.
Just make sure you save me one of those before they're all done. Hold one for me, yo. I need one of those. After Montreal, I need those in my life. And we also want to put this out, Brother Osiris was talking about the spiritual. We also want to pass this around to look at. The Nutritional Destruction of the Black Race, Nutricide, is a book by Brother Layla Africa. And he has a picture in there. And the picture reads, this is a photograph of the inside of the human brain. The cells of the brain are magnified to the size equivalent to the size of a car. The electromagnetic galaxy-like cloud in the center is the Eye of Horus. This is inside the brain in a fluid-filled space called the third ventricle. The Eye of Horus is alive and active and floats above the pineal gland and is influenced by melanin and the spirit world, or the unseen.
Dr. Leila Africa has some powerful information.
Yeah, if you haven't, make sure you check out Dr. Leila Africa. He's got some YouTube channels, he got some books out. Very informative elder with regard to health and spirituality and all that.
And pardon the interjection, but I also see that, you know, what the brother brought on now as far as in the wordplay, that's a serious weapon. That's probably one of the most strongest weapons out there, because it's crazy how, you know, where Ali's, owls, L's, days, and days, and then days of the week.
Yeah.
And then in Latin, days is DS, but if you spell it, same die. No, if you spell days, D-I-E-S, same die. If you say it in English, right? So-called English. So if you do not know the value within yourself and have considered that value, then it's like you're just, you know, you're spending your energy freely, wasting it, not being mindful of the power that you're really supposed to be utilizing, because we as unconscious Moors, they have a tendency of going to gain more value. By going out, they are not seeing what is what. You know, so I see that, you know, the work is a serious thing. We have to oversee these things for our own. We have to bring forth that meaning, the urge of necessity, and not make nobody define that for us as a nation.
And that's why we started out talking about damage control. Measures taken to offset or minimize damage to reputation, credibility, or public image caused by a controversial act, remark, or revelation. So, like the language, part and parcel, people changing up stuff, people claiming that Moors are citizens of something, when if you have a national flag, you're a national. That's just what it is. You know what I mean? Why would you even say you're a citizen if you have a national flag? You know, the plagiarism with Noble Drawley. Moorish Science Temple of America being incorporated, so that means it's only religious, and you don't have to know the law and all that stuff. You could just pray and sing hymns to Noble Drawley, you'll be free tomorrow. Those aren't the concepts that were brought, which is why the damage control is being done by certain Moors. So we're just going to play another one of these temple, whatever it is.
Who did come to us in due time to bring us this old-time religion and everlasting gospel. The prophet came to a people who, in many cases, did not know they needed a prophet. There were those who said, what I'm being taught is not right, but I don't know what to do about it. I've heard some say that, and I hear some people say, well, a lot of those old Moors didn't even know that they didn't know. Some knew that they didn't know, some didn't know that they didn't know. But the prophet came and he taught. He came and he taught us who we are. He came and he taught us who we are not. And he brought us a divine freedom. It's not just about nationality. It's not just about it's about being who you are. That's what it's about. It's about being who we are. And we are Moorish American Muslims. We are citizens of these United States. And we are not second-class citizens of these United States. I give honor to everything that the prophet said.
Good. So, if you're a citizen of these United States, and these United States are corporate, then why not just be citizens of Moorish Science Temple of America? That's corporate. The fact that they're going to outside corporation to be a citizen of, when they're already a corporation already, they can be a citizen of that, shows their incompetence. And on top of that, you have a national flag again, which means that you have some type of self-governing power. But you're still stooping down to be something other than you're not. When they even said, Noah Jolly came to teach us who we are. He really came to teach you that you're a citizen? I doubt that. I doubt that. He might have came to teach you how to be a better citizen, but he didn't came to teach you to be a citizen. And again, another perspective is if you're saying citizen of USA, you're talking about just like Brazil has, just like Brazil's part of the USA, and Jamaica's part of the USA, and all these other places are part of the USA, the geographical location, you would be a citizen of your own indigenous government if you're a citizen of U.S.A. Because you're talking about just like any other individual out here, that they have a coat of arms, they have a flag. Brother Yusuf posted a video talking about statelessness. And then they said in the video that Dominican Republic denationalized Haitians. Dominican Republic denationalized Haitians. Right? Because when you check the map, Dominican Republic is Haiti. Both of them in one place. So how is it two places? How is it two different places when it's one landmass? And then the individuals that are on the two different places, one of them is claiming that they're indigenous, and then one of them is claiming that they're corporate. You know, the same thing like some people saying they're Jamaican, and then some saying that they're Maroons or whatever. Everybody looking at the Maroons like they're crazy, and they're the ones that just want to kill the slave master, and they're the most rebellious of the whatever, and you don't want to have them around and do whatever like that because they're the Maroons or whatever. Same thing they do with the Haitians. Those are the ones that do voodoo the best. Those are the guys who have the hookup on every, whatever ritual you want to do, you talk to a Haitian. Right? Demoralize their culture, create some fake culture, and when the people realize that the fake culture is BS, then you just put them against each other instead of having those two people unify and take their stuff back and then just exit the colonizer. And we don't need you in our affairs anymore. We're not Haitians or Dominican Republicans, we're Moors. And they have their own track record, their own history or whatever that they can go back and see how Moorish they are. Now, we still have some time, so we'll open up the floor. If anybody has any questions or comments, feel free to.
I have a comment. More interjection, I have a comment.
Yeah, more.
You know, as you're saying, if you want to be a part of a corporation, just be part of Moorish Science and America. Because excuse me, say that if you want to be part of a government, be a part of the government that's in control of, that's the government that controls divinely the corporation, Moorish Science Temple of America. Because both in the de facto governments and the de jure government, there's levels to this. You know, there's level to it. There's levels to it. At least with the de jure government, you level up. You know, you come on in Moorish Science of America, you level up. Supposed to level up to more to binational movement, but with the de facto governments, they got you leveling down, thinking you're leveling up. They got you getting what you want as long as you giving them what they need. So, you have to cite certain things for certain. You have to cite these things for yourself, because even I was late, mad late on paying rent. Paid rent like 2 weeks ago. No, 2 weeks ago. And went on in. I gave them my phone number. And they're like, what's the name of the file? I said straw. Like, oh, we don't have that. So, like, getting appellation. Oh yeah, that's the right name. And that kind of stung me because I remember I was kind of mad at them telling to correct the name on the not even on the file. You know, I went to Western Union telling to correct the name on the visa, and they're telling me they don't do that. It's not Canadian document. It's not governmental official, so forth and whatnot. So I never said I'm Canadian. They said they're not gonna honor it. I said, all right, I don't even want to be with business with y'all no more. You know what? Just cancel the card. My point in me saying this is that once you know that you're dealing with the divine national movement as a Moor, even if you don't necessarily get the results you're looking to get, everything's a learning lesson. You know, everything's a learning lesson. So we must be mindful that that's the aim at all times, and let's not confuse divine with our own personal intent, because Moor is not singular.
Brother Sosa L sent this as a reference for Moors. Islam GS, shukran to you and the rest of the family of Moors in Canaanland. You may have seen this already about the name Moor being used in Bibles, one in particular, Bible thing today. And then when we were talking earlier, we were talking about something that brother just brought up, just to show the intuition. You may have seen this already about the name Moor being used in Bibles. One in particular is Geneva 1560 edition. It is hard to find the word Moor in it because it is printed as the black, B-L-A-C-K-E, Moor, M-O-R-E. And it's located in Jeremiah. I have included the link below the Bible. So one of them is Geneva 1560 Bible, and the reference point is they changed Cush to Ethiopia. So King James Version is going to say Ethiopia. But then it would say Cush in Geneva Bible. King James Version would say, someone would say M-O-R-E, and then Geneva, and then some other ones would say M-O-O-R, would actually say more in there.
That's strictly from Jeremiah 4:22. The so-called Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 22.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So Friday I got a call. We have another spelling for more to add to the glossary. So Sister Mandy called me from South Africa on Friday. So the so-called Dutch, the so-called Dutch that are claiming to be South African, the Afrikaans, use this as a derogatory word in South Africa. Right? So they say that M-O-E-R is mother, and also it means some derogatory term. So they would say, the Africans would say to the indigenous South Africans that your mother's a Moor, to be derogatory to them. Because the Africans have this not as mother, but as something derogatory.
Wow.
Right?
So I think if I inject, I can imagine me reasoning with our brothers and sisters over there from here.
Yeah.
Telling me more is like they wanna
fight. Yeah, they wanna fight.
Oh my.
They wanna fight. Yeah. Crazy.
Well, part of interjection, but that's the thing. Their game doesn't change. It's the same thing they've been doing.
Yep.
They've been telling us that our stuff is not our stuff and it's bad. Right? So their game hasn't changed. So Moors have to realize that they're not that smart. They haven't even did anything new. They're just using the same stuff over and over again. So that's why with me. So that's why with me now, I don't go play with it because, I mean, and I shouldn't say, before I even say what I'm going to say, not every Moor should do this. Right? Especially if you're not a studious Moor, or especially if you're not that active, or whatever the case is. But because for me now, what I do when they want to dishonor me without paying for taxes, I just give them the straight exact change. Right? And I'm out of it. Right? Because first they want to say, oh well, because I give them a chance, right? I said, okay, you know what I mean? I'm showing you receipts upon receipts and proof, so there should be no question.
For the same business.
Even from your own store. Winners, I would say Winners specifically, this one store by Rexley Mall, I show them their own from other stores and they're still violating that.
Yeah.
Oh, Indian this. I'm like, I'm not Indian. Right?
And
so,
no, go ahead.
So basically, so the funny part was that what I'll do is I'll back out my camera. I'm like, okay, you guys are going to violate, I'm going to enforce the law, so I need to know your name and your supervisor's name, whatever. Right? So they usually say, oh, you can't videotape me, I'm going to call the police. I said, okay then. I call 911 on my phone, and I say 911, these people are violating. They won't honor my tax after I show them Ray, and 911 is like saying, okay sir, just show them the card. I did, but they're violating. Okay sir, where are you? So I tell them, and next thing you know, the managers, they run off in their office. Right? So I'm even giving them a chance to come back. So the lady's like, sir, Ray trying to talk me down. I'm like, ma'am, right? I showed you guys proof and you guys want to be dishonorable, so I'm just taking the law in my own hands. Right? So I wait for like 5 minutes, and then I with other people, I wait for the police to come. Like, I'm not afraid because I know that I gave them the money, right? I'm just not paying the taxes because they're violators, so I'm just going to enforce the law. Wait. No police came, so boom, I left. So then there's another shirt because, true, I couldn't get the both because I didn't have the exact change. I went back for it again, so they recognized me. Right? Obviously, it was like 2 days later. But then I didn't have the exact change, so I went to the subway, and they were trying to violate. So I called 911 on them. Right? And the man's like, okay, I'm calling 911 too, so he's there, whatever.
Oh, subway, the food place?
Yeah, subway, the food place. So then I got the change, went back to the Winners, gave an exact change, right, left out, and I'm still waiting. Where's the police at? So these people are bluffing. Because they didn't expect me to call 911, but I'm used to calling 911 when the highway man pulled me over. So I know, for me, 911 is a record. Because anything that you say or is recorded. So I know later I could go back to 911 if I really need it. Right? So, but to show how these people psyche are, their game is so weak now, it's like when you do the reverse on them, they get shook. Right? But I'm not saying for Moorish to do this because, I mean, the ancestors roll with me, I know that for a fact, so it's like, you gotta know what you're doing, or, you know what I mean, you just gotta do you. I don't say it for Moorish to do that, that's just me. You know?
book out there, Strangers and Kin, The American Way of Adoption by Barbara Melosh. Strangers and Kin, The American Way of Adoption by Barbara Melosh. Looking Jewish was a designation that CBD social workers applied liberally with an imprecision that reflected the blurring of ethnic differences after World War II. By contrast, in the 1930s, record in which Jewishness included everything from religious practice to temperament and taste, later records focused almost exclusively on appearance. Difference had become only skin deep. The placement of little James, born in 1967, was delayed for several days while social workers and others struggled with his racial assignment. His mother was a Moor, an ethnically distinct group clustered into two enclaves of southern Delaware. The origins of the group are obscure, but Moors had long been identified as a distinctive community. They're triracial, and notice that the Moors had been long identified as a distinctive community, not as citizens of some BS. Their triracial heritage reflected the intermingling of whites, African Americans, and American Indians, Lenni Lenape and Nanticoke. Some Moors were visually distinguishable from whites and according to comments by CBD records, were known to direct considerable animosity toward African Americans. Other Delawareans, though, often saw Moors as Negroes. Some of the many legends of the group's ancestry held that Delaware's Moors were descendant from a Moorish colony from Spain, from Spanish pirates, or an exiled Spanish beauty, and a 1940 observer opined some would indeed be conspicuous among Spaniards, Cubans, or Italians. Moors themselves sometimes identified with their tribal heritage, calling themselves Indians. Others refused to subsume their identity as Moors under any more widely recognized or other ethnic or racial category. Clearly, the social worker had a formidable task before her as she contemplated this child's racial assignment. In the case record, she mulled over her own and others' impressions of mother and baby. Anyone familiar with the Moors might recognize her as Moorish, she opined, but otherwise I suspect that she would pass readily as Caucasian. When the baby was born, the social worker solicited the opinions of other nurses at the hospital. Both nurse and I feel we would think he was completely Caucasian if we did not know his mother was a Moor. Strangers and Kin, The American Way of Adoption.
When he was born, they asked his mom if his father is white man. Yeah, I know he's not. And I'm there, they must think it's her brother.
But you know, as I'm hearing that, I'm looking at it and I'm deciding to bring the youth today, you know, because today is a powerful bill, most definitely. Youth take on it, I'm deciding to bring the youth today. But as I'm hearing, more is a, I see it as a divine work. And how I also see it is that when the youth them hear the word, the more they mature, the more they grow, the more they're going to see the value in it, the more there's a composure in how they're supposed to conduct themselves, and they have to see that for themselves. So if there's a composure, that means that we're not functioning on that frequency. As the Grand Sheik mentioned, you know, you come on in here, you leave a little better. A little. Because a little here, a little there makes a whole lump sum. So we have to keep disciplining, adding a little bit more so that we know we're getting to that realm where we're supposed to just be. You know, so yeah, we have to know that we have to know we're honoring our foremothers, not only our mothers, our foremothers, Not only our fathers, our forefathers. You know?
Now give it up for the children being in class today. What are you clapping about? So we just open up again if anybody has questions. If you got any questions, feel free to shoot them out, especially the new people. So you can get different perspectives.
Well, I'd just like to add to the word more, because as you're saying, they're trying to make it into a derogatory meaning. That's what they do. They flip the meaning of stuff so that we be afraid of our own stuff when we see it. And that's the game that they play. But with more, it has so many meaning, so many it's all positive meaning, because more means dark skin, dark complexion. Right? More also means a law that means 1 more equals 100 English bailiffs. Right? Also mean land. Also means docking, because I was working at this place and they had mooring whips. Why, that's what ties the boat down. They had mooring bayou, which is these little floating device stuff that you see on the side of the boats. Those are called mooring bayou or whatever that word is.
Boy,
Yeah, exactly. Right, so just in history, just in law, just in even in commerce or manufacturing, more is everywhere.
You know what? Donald Trump is telling them too, he said he's national.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that one. We talk about that Tuesday.
All those people crossing the border. He's telling them, but they don't know.
That's how you're going to get through to me.
Yeah, you're going to be national.
Talk national. Don't be fooled by their corporate stuff.
That's what it's called, divine and national.
Right, one of the emails that we're telling you about with the Moors that had an issue going to the temple or whatever. So the Moors were saying that the entire process, which is him proclaiming his nationality or whatever, would be 1200. When I presented the declaration, they said, why are you doing it the difficult way? Which is, going through Great Seal, printing off your papers and whatever. And proceeded to show me their temple packet. There was only a $25 processing fee. Then neither would sign because they said they weren't sovereign. They told me that they were non-US nationals. I'm 5 months in, and that seems like a different way of saying sovereign, which makes you bound to the law of the land, I thought. One said he went through RVB at first, but realized the name declaration was colorable because it said legal notice. They told me their temple was private, yet it's incorporated, which I thought was a legal corporation. They were talking about law, I will admit. However, they said they had a different jurisdiction under chancery courts. When I said, so you operate from jurisprudence, they said no, equity. Right? Now, keep in mind already that when they're talking, that concept of equity and going in that direction, you have to be living by certain standards for equity to work. Yeah. Equity is not working if you're just free-for-alling. Equity is for, we'll say people who want to deal with the straight and narrow, right? Because you would have to it's almost like having an oath if you're dealing with equity, right? If you're dealing with national principles, there's certain governmental expectations that you have. There's certain things that are going to be expected from you. In equity, there's a code that you would follow for that. So if, let's say you're dealing with some property issue. You know, this is why people do, well, when they deal with the UCC, for example, UCC 1 claim the straw and all that stuff, what they're really trying to deal with is equity without having to go through the tiresome stuff you have to go through to fully comprehend equity, right? Like we're saying, everybody wants the easy way out. Everybody wants to be able to know the Moor who sent a paper and got their stuff dismissed and just use his paper, opposed to it being their energy or whatever. Again, I'm 5 months in, and from my studies, I thought a chancery court was a system of jurisprudence administered by equity. Lastly, they told me that RVB is a great starting point. It was kindergarten, though I had a very long way to go. I have yet to meet another one that did not go through RVB first. However, people act like there is something better after they go to RVB. I just stopped conversing. So that's another one of the slights of the Inc. Moorish Science Temples, is that they'll definitely have something to say about RVB publications. Right? They would be open to that. And we also want you to do your research on Saint Benedict the Moor Center in Washington. St. Benedict the Moor Center and St. Benedict the Moor Church, which the church has a picture of, or has a statue of St. Benedict the Moor on it.
Pardon the interjection, but I also see that just being acted as a Moor, when you're dealing with these corporations, you have to, when I say these corporations, like, we all know what we're talking about, but we got to be mindful that the people who function in the corporations, they're forgetting that they're people. They're forgetting that they're encapsulated in flesh and blood. So sometimes, like, you know, sometimes you gotta know yourself. Like me, sometimes I'm not separating myself from more, but I know myself to the point that I'm fireside. So it's easy for me to just speak, talking, outspoken, talking out loud. And sometimes I have to raise the degree to the point where, like, you know, the brain cells in their mind are just bouncing up against the walls like it's basketball. And when I see I do that, I gotta keep myself in check now, because I'm only doing that to remind you, hey, wake up. You're not a corporation. And from my hearing that, okay, they're talking equity. Okay, yeah, you gotta deal with a corporation to how a corporation is, without becoming a corporation. Right. Obviously, we know a flesh and blood can't become a corporation unless he agrees to it. It's still not a corporation, even whatever they have in their mind. But yeah, yeah. Thumbs up to that Moor having the mindset to check out RVB, you know, and on the public record, yeah, it ain't no kindergarten school stuff. It's a university.
Yeah, straight. Because that's part of the play too. That, you know, the idea is to make you think that Moorish Science Temple is the all and be all, you're going to get everything there, when you're not going to get everything there. You know, they want to make sure that the energy goes to them so that they can keep the momentum going, but, you know, really the energy is supposed to be within. Like I was speaking with good sister Miriam Bay the other day, and we were talking about supporting our own and how much we should be focused on internal everything. You want a hat, go to a Moor. You want toothpaste, go to a Moor. You want slippers, whatever, go to a Moor. If Moors don't have that, okay, then the next best option, that's Asiatic. But as soon as we start going outside, it's already gone. We have to start over again. I got one. Because it's supposed to circulate 8 times first within us. You know. If nobody heard, Shannon O'Connor is a Muslim now.
Oh yeah, I seen that.
Can you say the person title again?
Chanel O'Connor.
Chanel O'Connor.
Yeah. Fast car girl.
Fast car. NASCAR?
Fast car. She has a song named Fast Car.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. She old school.
Yeah.
You know,
But yeah, she just.
Oh, that fast car song from the 80s.
Yeah.
Oh, she.
Yeah, the ball in.
Yeah, she come back now.
Yeah.
The whole song.
You don't want to sing the song? Oh,
We're gonna fight for you. We're gonna fight for you. Well, that even hurt. Nothing compares to you. No, Fast Car is freaking Chapman.
That's Tracy Chapman.
Yeah, Tracy Chapman. Not Fast Car. It's a different. I can't remember its song, but she's out there. Just look her up. Actually, this might be one right here.
Since she got caught, she got major flack for tearing up a picture of the Pope and destroyed it.
Yeah, cause she was one of them people that are controversial or whatever. You know, always into something. Now I gone Muslim.
Oh yeah, and then I don't know whose video I was watching, but then if you look up the meaning when the last name has O apostrophe, it means son of a Moor or child of a Moor, something like that.
For real.
Yeah, any little Irish name that are O.
The O apostrophe. Yeah. Or hair and all them man. That's real. One chat question. What? Those prophets are relationship with the Atlantean teachers thought referred to in the Emerald Tablets. When you look at things like the ancient Kemetic mysteries and the Atlantean or the Atlantis connection. Remember Horace Butler and When Rocks Cry Out, that there's many pharaohs they don't talk about that they buried in the Americas. That when they died over there, they brought them over here to bury them. So that just lets you know that they were going back and forth here and there like it was nothing forever. It's not some new concept that because Nobujuali came, now we're talking like this. Right, this is something that we've been doing.
Yeah, just like how people die here and they take them back.
Right, take them back home.
Yeah.
To bury them.
Yeah.
Right? Why are they taking Egyptian pharaohs back home to the Americas if they're from if they're from Africa or whatever? Right? You know? And then that's a crazy paradox if you think about, you know, like what's going on over there. That their concept is, no, we're not from Africa, we're from America or whatever like that. No, you're from Africa or whatever. They're like, oh yeah, he's actually from America. And then they send them back here to bury them instead of burying them there. Right? Not even the people here. I want to go back home or whatever. No, you are home. Where are you going? You're already in your own land. And Noah individual, he told us that it's earnestly hoped that this wouldn't be compared to any Back to Africa movement. Because you can't go back to where you're from. Another article you could look up is how Trump's nationalism has already changed the world.
There's something more?
How Trump's nationalism has already changed the world. Just an article out there. And the concept in the article is how he's using treaties or whatever to have these arrangements with different people. Even though he's in a de facto position, but he's talking treaty. And then they're talking about him expressing nationalism when he's a corporation CEO.
Part of the introduction, though, you know, going on this word play stuff, it's crazy because, you know, when more came on into be on paper, I guess, you know, it was from the denotative perspective, but it's very imperative we know these words for ourselves once again, because like nation, you know, etymology, etymologically, it has the denotative, it has what it is, you know, but now nation could be a club, it could be a group. So when I'm hearing Trump talk about nationalism and all that stuff, you know,
yeah, that's just surface talk.
Yeah. At least he's touching something with other people and everything.
Yeah.
That's my own point when I brought it.
Yeah.
The truth is coming out. I just a little bit open.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
You'll see a sentence, you'll catch a sentence and you see the wink and like, what's the wink for?
One of the more sent this one, I think Brother Yusuf sent this one. Earth Observatory.nasa.gov. Earth Observatory.nasa.gov. And they have an article on here talking about Morocco's high Atlas Mountains. Morocco's high Atlas Mountains. Quick quote. The Atlas Mountains were shaped by geological processes that work over hundreds of millions of years. One key step occurred in the early Jurassic period, 201 to 174 million years ago, when many of the world's continents were still bunched closer together following the breakup of the supercontinent Pangaea. This part of Morocco fell within the African plate near a boundary with the Eurasian and the North American plates. As the three plates separated, the crust thinned so much that a tear opened up and formed a rift valley that eventually filled with ocean water. Alright, so just putting that out, again, the connection of Africa and all that stuff being connected. So when they talk that stuff about, you know, go back to Africa or whatever, you could let them know we're already there. We're here. Nowhere to go back to. Was there any chat questions, Tez?
So, a couple brothers in the chat want to know about the difference between U.S. citizen and American citizen.
Any more want to take a strike at that? Difference between U.S. citizen and American citizen.
One's a corporation. You know, one is going to the corporation and pretty much asking them to become a part of their club, and the other one is American citizens going to the people, we the people, and mentioning, you know, we want to be partakers of and do business on your land, and just holding yourself according to whatever oath, whatever vow that you're going to hold yourself onto your life. That's just how, in a base manner, that's how I see it.
You can look at the American.
We just mention the last thing,
Yeah.
two-point injection.
No more, go ahead.
I know there's a difference between, I never looked down into C and C, capital C, lowercase c too, right?
The American citizen as well could be looked at as, like we were saying earlier, the American citizen would be the sovereign of the land. So, like Amar said in the chat, a Peruvian would be an American citizen, right? A Cuban would be an American citizen, Colombian, you know, anybody that is from quote unquote one of the United States of the Americas. And then the U.S. citizen would be the ward, or the USA citizen would be the ward. But then again, if we go with American citizen, and then they want to use, you know, Noble Joe Ali said in Divine Warning, American citizen, that he's definitely not talking about U.S. citizen. If he's saying American citizen, if he's saying we are citizens of U.S.A, then he's saying we're American citizens, not that we're U.S. citizens.
Yeah, come back to the definition of who an American is.
Right.
Various colored people. So that too bring you directly sovereign to the land instead of being a ward to individual.
Right. Well, so definition of American, going back to the copper-colored natives before the Europeans came here. Those people would be citizens, but it'll be under their own stuff. That has nothing to do with anybody else that's a foreigner here. As soon as the foreigner's involved, you already know that it's not the same, right? It's like when we when they try to pull the thing with us with, you know, we show our nationality card. Oh, you're Indian. Oh, then they start talking about Indians or whatever. No, we're not. That's not where we're going. Oh, so you're Native American. No, that's not right. So if they're taking the position of saying, did Canada give you the nationality card? Or is that government issued or whatever like that? Oh no, it's not government issued because we're non-status Indian. We're not the Indians that you're used to. We're not the Indians that they put on TV and the movies and whatever and say that those are Indians. We're not those ones. We're the actual ones that were here before even those people that you're calling Indians right now. And again, if we were citizens, then we're citizens of our own indigenous whatever. We're not citizens of some foreign jurisdiction. Right?
Part of the introduction, I just want to add too, when the prophet said that we are citizens of the USA, you got to realize, I even see on some Moorish banners that they're trying to push on flags. Or whatever the case is, push as the American flag, which is, that's the American flag right there. So anything else you make up and try to make as a flag, doesn't matter if it has your stuff on it, it's still a banner. But anyways, not to go deviate from what I was trying to say, but when Noble Joe Ali said USA, right? If you understand it, you could be saying that the United Salvation of Allah is what I heard he was pertaining to. And a lot of some of these banners and stuff like that, that looks like that, they actually have it on there just to show people that that's something that was out there back in his time, right? Because I mean, I can't go deep into it because I haven't really researched it that much, but I heard already mentioned that he was saying the United Salvation of Allah. He wasn't really meaning USA or United States of America.
Right. That's why he acronym it, he didn't spell it out. Because when you check all the other stuff that he never wrote U.S.A. He would write it out, United States of America. Right? So because it was an acronym, it might have had alternate meanings. Right? And then to back up Brother Osiris' point, that goes to the symbology on the nationality card, which represent U.S.A. So I'm a citizen of that. Now, you know, people say, well, how can you be a citizen of Unity Salvation Allah or whatever? Well, if you look at the thing that we pass around, that he's the Egyptian adept, then yeah, you would be a spiritual citizen. Yeah, you would be a divine citizen. If you know, if we're going to be making reference to Allah and higher powers and things like that, we could come to the conclusion that just like they say Allah is the house of the Lord and all that type of stuff. You could say the country of the Lord, the sovereignty of the Lord, all those things relative to nations of the Lord. To have that idea or have that perspective, and again with the whole citizen aspect, relate citizen to civilian before you relate citizen to citizen. Because when you relate citizen to civilian, civilian goes into a citizen that knows law. So if you're a citizen, then you should know law. You can't be a citizen talking about, you know, singing hymns to Noble Drew Ali. You can't say I am a citizen of U.S.A, which means you know law, but talking against people who teach law, or talking against people who have law as, you know, subject matter for Moors to learn or study.
Part of the introduction, but when you think of man, as Noble Drew Ali said, man is not the flesh, man is spirit. So if you know that you're a spirit man, meaning that the spirit in the body is really you, your subconscious mind. Just like when you're breathing, your heart's beating, all your body sound is functioning, you're not commanding it. It just does it on its own. That's the subconscious. That's the Allah, that's the spirit in you. Because the body, it's going to decay, and the worms and the maggots and stuff is going to get at it. But if you think that's you, then that's where you're done. That's where you're going to always be in the trap, because you're going to think the body, they kidnap the body. Well, they could kidnap the body, but whether you're in the bin or in the holding cell, your mind is free, right? And you know that if you stand on your square, yeah, they might violate, but at the end of the day, they're going to give you some kind of way out. Just like what the brother said, they're denying him with his prepaid credit card. They didn't want to give him his name, but then they turn around and they put the Western Union in the appellation. So in a way, it looks like he got shot down and they're dishonorable, but then on the other side, the ancestor set it up where now his appellation is in the system. So people have to understand that certain things that you go through, you might think, wow, man, they just violated it, man. It sucks. But on the flip side, the ancestor's working on it. Don't worry about it. Just keep active.
Right? Important interjection, but to continue that thought, keep active, because when you know what you're doing for, once you see that the divine has revealed to you that purpose and you know that for that, you don't need no affirmation from no. It's already written on the wall, and there ain't no physical wall, not no physical vapor either. That's there too and stuff, but you know, so Islam more acknowledging that.
I just want to say, but to go back to what I was building on with the salvation of Allah, if you know that you are the spirit, then, like he said, you're a citizen of the divine. The divine is connected to everything, the universe, the planet, the plants, the animals, the ocean. That means you're connected with everything. You're one. You're one with the oneness. You're one with the universe. And that's what bigger citizenship than that is. I probably didn't say that right, but you know, that's the highest citizenship there is. So if you go on that, on the divine, no other subordinary level of citizenship or government can even top that. So you're at the top. Universally.
And this is the concept that they took away, because if, you know, for example, with when you have temple structure, majority of temples, if individual who is making some type of statement or whatever, if they're not reading out of the Quran or something Noble Juali or whatever like that, they're not making them talk. It's set up that you're going to refer to Noble Juali stuff if you're going to stand up and talk, not from personal experience. Which this is really about personal experience, because every man has their own reason for being in this. And they have their own path that they're walking, which their path might influence somebody better than the Grand Sheik path could, or the Grand Governor path, or whoever's lined up on the thing, or whoever goes on the podium. They might not be able to reach whoever's in the congregation. Because congregations are limited in their studying just to what's in this room or whatever. They're going out there and they're living their life as Moors, certain Moors. You know what I mean? Certain Moors, they're not themselves out there, so being Moor in here is all they got. But the Moors who are universal, that travel and they wear their fez wherever, they come back with so much experiences that people can't say, people can't say that they're not down with this. You know? They can't say they're not down with this.
Part of the interjection, I'm going to start note taking. So if I see somebody raise their hand, I don't know your appellation, I'm just say more.
Anybody else questions? So we have our date set for the 2019 9th Noble Juali Day. January 5th is going to be at 29 St. Denis, same place that we had last year, Flemington Park Community Center. Right now we have, we're going from 12 to 6. We're going to have, of course, we got some performances this year. We got a culmination lecture, which we're going to keep that under wraps. But that is going to be a good one. We also have some vendors lined up. We got, of course, 5 principals going to be going in as usual. Fatage. Right. Before that, it's pretty much just classes going to be going on. Remember to exchange numbers with the Moors here as well, so you can continue to build. I think, Randy, you guys were talking about November, I think, for Hamilton? Yeah, in November. Yeah, so sometime November, we're going to be making a Hamilton stop off, probably a Saturday, so any Moors who are up for that, once we get the information, we'll send that out so we can go out there. Anybody else, anywhere else, if you got access to space or whatever, you want classes, programs, after school, whatever, contact with the Moors in here. Everybody in here is qualified enough to teach you that you're not Negro black colored. So, don't be limited in, don't be limited in, only the podium people is, we don't get down like that. All these Moors in here are qualified. Me and Brother Cabena were talking about the whole finance aspect, you know, going back to how it is that you can assist with making sure that this keeps going. Like we said, to start out, we had a few people take it upon themselves to make sure that they put some funds in the pot so we can get the building. Or some people put material in the pot so we can get the floor. You know, some people put their skills in the pot so we can have banister and doors working properly and blinds up and certain things. We were talking about, from a couple of the last sessions, we were talking about trying to get the basement in order. We want to give a shout to Brother Kiba for making the basement floor happen. So that's in the motions. So he donated about 37 boxes so we can get the floors done downstairs. So we want to give honors for that. So sometime between this week, we're looking to get down there, or he's looking to get down there to get certain things done. We're looking for individuals who don't have slave obligations that are open to assist with helping getting the basement floor part in order. We still got electrician to do down there. We still got painting to do. But all in all, that's a start for us to be able to have somewhere for the children to be at when class is going on, so they can have their own stuff going on. Mother Juliana, Brother Yasun, and a couple of people, and I want to take the initiative of starting to get the schooling aspect going, so that our children could have somewhere to go to outside of, you know, just the institutions. Because again, we have many Moors whose children are in the institutions and they're successful. So we're not, you know, having our own because our children are whatever failing in the European school and they can't teach them right. Children are excelling in their European school. They need more. European school can't teach them enough stuff for them to learn. So they need a better curriculum. They need more information. And just like the adults, this is where they're going to get it, especially when we get our things running the way that it's supposed to. Once, like we're talking about, the people realize that this is theirs. And just like they go over and beyond to make sure that they got rims on their stuff and they are tinted and all that stuff. They got the best jacket and the best boots, and winter times come and make sure that their stuff is proper. Same thing with the temple. This is like this is your dwelling place. This is your place to learn. This is your place for your children to learn. Soon this is going to be your place to eat from. Once that's in order, this is going to be your store to come support, learn from. This is going to be your place to have your meetings at, do your yoga at. When you have downstairs, you're going to do your martial arts, your self-defense training. If you just want to come chill, watch the game, you do that here, whatever. You know what I mean? Because we're all we have, and we have to make sure that we have something for ourselves. Brother North.
There is a song I was talking to my sister about, the whole history of whatever, the Moors. And there is a song I remember, but I don't remember who sang this song. It's about every generation blame the one before. Who remember who sang that song?
Every generation
blame the one before.
I don't know.
You ever hear that song?
What kind of song?
All of their frustration, come banging on your door. Say no, say it clear. You know that song?
Oh. That's chorus song.
Okay, well, my point to that song is, we're the Moors now, we're going to make sure the generation that follow us will never blame us. You got to make sure they get it. You got my drip?
Yeah.
You got to make sure the generation that come us, we can blame the ones before now. We can blame the one that destroy what no majority left and twist it up and do whatever. So now we got to correct it. So who come after we will never blame me. They won't blame us. So we got to do what we have to do for the generation, the young ones coming.
We just set you up right now, Mark. You just want to get hype right now. They're about to go in.
Yeah. You see how long that song was? Like, now where we are right now. We have to make our generation know.
1989.
Let them blame us.
1989.
You're going to let them blame us.
Number one in Australia, Canada, Ireland, US. While it was number 2 in the UK. Yeah, Mike and the Mechanics. Yeah, that's the Answer Machine song here. I know everybody in the chat, yeah, I heard that song before. Oh yeah, as soon as the chorus comes, hey! That's
Who's singing? What's the name of the singer?
Mike and the Mechanics.
Oh, Mike and the
Mechanics.
Right. I remember the name. I mean, I know the song, but I don't remember the name. And it's even on the weekend we have a discussion about it with some other guys out there, how them were talking, and none of them remember the song. And they're big DJ artists, and none of them can tell me about the song. What's so funny is the first time now we actually still we hear it.
Like I said earlier, information's at your fingertips right now.
Yeah.
You can find out anything. You can find out anything right now. Everything. So once again, welcome again to the Moorish Science Temple, Moorish Divine National Movement, Moorish Holy Temple of Science. We're out here, 2530, Eglinton West. Feel free to spread the word to people. Me and Brother Cabana were talking about also, feel free to, make up your little own flyers or whatever. You got your own website, you got your own stuff going on. You're a member, we got the logo, we got the whatever, any type of stuff you need to put on your flyers or whatever like that. You want to rep your stuff, then let's do it. Let's get this word out. Durrell, you ready to go, bro?